The son of the industry's #1 engineer is joining the company. One day, the company president, Robert Jones, brought in his beloved son, Daniel. He boasted about Daniel being the top engineer in the industry. But without showing any real skills, Daniel strutted around the office, disrupting our work. When I told him to keep his voice down, he got angry and said, "In the UK, we fire the incompetent." Thanks. Although I was fired, I had been considering quitting ever since Jones became president. I kept working despite being reassigned, but I finally decided to leave this company that was turning into a sweatshop. I even left a $100 million project hanging and resigned. My name is William Johnson, 45 years old. I'm an engineer at a system development company. We handle everything from planning to selling antivirus software, production management systems, and various services tailored to our clients' needs. I've been in this industry for nearly 20 years, and continuous learning is essential to hone my skills. Some young people say, you don't have to study once you're an adult. But to survive in society, studying is indispensable. Adults need to keep learning, or they'll be lost when it really counts. Our company has a decent track record. We receive orders from clients, and there's no immediate fear of bankruptcy. The employees are competent, and many of them seem serious and dedicated. I've considered changing jobs many times due to the heavy overtime. But I didn't want to move to a place with lower pay, so I've managed to keep working by fooling myself. However, since the new president took over, I've been visiting job search websites more frequently. 6 months ago, the previous president announced his resignation to focus on treating his illness. The new president, Robert Jones, took over then. During the previous president's time, monthly overtime was kept to about 70 hours, considering the employees' burdens. But Jones is a devil of a man who only cares about sales and performance, treating employees as mere tools. During his inauguration speech, he said to us, "The company's sales won't increase with the previous lenient methods. You are worker ants. Dedicate yourselves to the company." I thought he was being overly dramatic, but Jones drastically changed the management policies. First, we used to record our check-in and check-out times with an IC card employee ID, making it easy to manage everyone's records through a system. This system is widely adopted because it allows for accurate time tracking and is convenient for management. However, Jones ordered us to revert to using paper time cards to make us work more overtime. Jones's idea seems to be that with paper time cards, we can clock out on time and then work overtime as much as we want. Of course, when we heard that we wouldn't be paid for overtime to cut labor costs, the employees and I were outraged. Changing to such an inefficient method and increasing our burden is unacceptable. I said this and confronted Jones directly. I asked him to return to the previous management method, but his response was, "If we do that, we can't fudge the overtime hours. If you have complaints, come back after you've increased sales." He wouldn't listen to us and always brought up sales in the end. Defeated, I trudged back to my desk, holding my head in my hands. Other employees were also openly distrustful of Jones's methods. By the way, why was Jones chosen as president? When I voiced my doubts, an employee told me a rumor. Apparently, Jones might have bribed the shareholders to vote for him. If the rumor is true, it's a disgraceful scandal for the company. However, there's no evidence of bribery, and Jones was chosen because of the previous president's trust in him as an executive. Whether the rumor is true or not, I'm worried about the company going downhill because of him. I said to the employee who shared the rumor, "Since becoming president, Robert Jones has imposed quotas on the sales and development departments. As a systems engineer, I'm involved in system development within the development department. Those who don't meet the quotas will get 0 summer bonuses." What? Jones forced unreasonable quotas on the sales and development departments to boost sales. He told us to create products that sell, and left us in despair. Whether we get bonuses depends on the company's performance, and last year, we got nothing for both summer and winter. The development department must create sellable products, and the sales department must increase customers. In this situation where we get no overtime pay and only more burden, everyone is in despair. Let's seriously meet these quotas and work hard to get our bonuses. I encourage the dejected employees, spending time on maintenance of existing products and development of new ones. Though Jones imposed quotas, I took pride in my work as an engineer and dedicated myself to it. Gradually, we began to get new contracts, and just as we were about to meet our quotas, it happened. A long-time senior engineer I've worked with announced he was quitting. After working past 1 a.m. and staying at a business hotel together, he told me, "If the work environment gets any worse, I'm quitting." "What? You can't quit? We've worked hard together." He was someone who took care of me when I was new, and I respect him as an excellent engineer. But he couldn't stand the current company situation and had already submitted his resignation. Unpaid overtime, in addition to the harsh working hours, is a significant blow for a working adult supporting a family. I didn't want my respected senior to quit, but after hearing his story, I couldn't bring myself to stop him. It would be great if we could report this to the Labor Standards Office, but it's frustrating without evidence. Jones is the one managing all employee attendance records. He collects all the time cards and strictly checks if we clock out on time. If we punch out after working overtime, it's considered a violation, leading to a written reprimand and affecting our performance reviews. This is why employees grudgingly clock out on time and then continue working. What's more troublesome is that there are senior and veteran employees in the company, known as the Jones faction, who support Jones. These managers act as his enforcers, monitoring their subordinates to ensure they don't do anything strange. As a reward for their surveillance, they get promotions and bonuses, enjoying the benefits. In another department, a thorough monitoring is carried out by the manager, who sidelines any disliked employees. Since Jones became president, the company atmosphere has become oppressive. I had a feeling for a while, but recently the employees' behavior has been strange. Their heightened sense of caution, seeing everyone as enemies, evokes more pity than fear in me. Instead of working together on tough quotas, seniors are quitting, and morale is plummeting. We used to go out for drinks after work, but that's all gone now. It's all because Robert Jones became president. I kept thinking about what I could do in this situation. A few days later, after finishing a meeting with our long-standing client, Wall Corporation, I returned to the office. Jones stopped me and asked about the progress on the new product development. "It's progressing well. We're checking for bugs, and if there are no issues, we can launch it the month after next." The month after next? That's too late. Customers are always hungry for new products and services. Speed it up. He ordered me to fix any issues later and complete it quickly. "Even if you tell me this, I have other projects too." I showed him the materials I used in the meeting with the long-standing client, and Jones scoffed. "Dealing with small companies doesn't make us any money." Angry at his disrespect towards an important client, I couldn't help but snap back. "As the president, how can you speak ill of an important client? Please retract your statement." Jones scowled at my words, and we glared at each other. "Learn what happens when you defy the president." He smirked and stomped away. The next day, when I arrived at work, there was an email from Jones sent to the company-wide address. Reading it, I was stunned. "What? Why am I being transferred?" The email said, "William Johnson is ordered to transfer to the General Affairs Department." Is it because he was pissed off at how I talked to him yesterday? I muttered, feeling the cold stares of the surrounding employees. A sudden transfer order is rare, and everyone assumed I must have caused some trouble. I naturally refused the unjust transfer order, but Jones forced me to choose. Either get fired right now or survive in the General Affairs Department. What? If I get fired, I can't support my life. Faced with an ultimatum, I reluctantly accepted the transfer. The General Affairs Department was as dull and unremarkable as they said, with a gloomy atmosphere. Losing my job as a systems engineer and doing monotonous work drained my passion. I assumed the General Affairs Department was gloomy, but it turned out to be different when I started working there. The employees were mostly quiet, but they were all competent and worked quickly. They taught me the tasks efficiently, and their actions were precise. The department's dim atmosphere was simply due to the building across the street blocking the sunlight, making it dark even with the lights on. When I shared the story of my transfer with them, they sympathized, and it was the first time in a while I felt human kindness. The transfer was a shock, but I felt I could manage here. I was relieved not to have unreasonable quotas. However, 2 weeks after the transfer, something strange happened at the company. When I passed Jones in the hallway, he had an eerie smirk on his face. "Good day, President. Did something good happen?" As soon as I greeted him, he widened his eyes as if he'd been waiting for this. "Actually, Daniel has returned." "Daniel? Oh, your son." Daniel Jones is Jones's son, and he seems to adore him quite a bit. I've seen him catch random employees during breaks to brag about his son. Daniel is 30 years old and has been working at the company in United Kingdom. He resigned and returned to the US this morning. He seems to have learned a lot in the UK. I'm so proud to have such an accomplished son. Sensing that continuing to listen to Jones's bragging would be a waste of time, I tried to make a quick exit. But Jones, with a pompous tone, continued speaking. "The industries know one engineer's son is joining the company." "What? One engineer joining?" I couldn't wrap my head around what he was saying. "Of course, my son will eventually take over this company. I haven't met Daniel yet, but just knowing he's Jones's son gives me a bad feeling." "Has your son already been active as an engineer?" "That's right. During his studies, he often called to say he won programming contests or got featured in business magazines. So he must be outstanding." It seems Daniel was quite a successful engineer in the UK, and his boss repeatedly tried to persuade him not to quit. It's surprising that someone like him would join a company with such a poor working environment. The next day, just as Jones said, a young man joined our company. As we were about to start work, Jones issued an order for all employees to gather in the main hall, and we hurried to assemble. Next to Jones stood a young man, presumably Daniel, whose eyes narrowed when he smiled, just like his father. "Everyone, my son Daniel has joined our company today. Give him a round of applause." Prompted by Jones, we exchanged glances and then clapped. Daniel stepped up to the microphone stand, puffed out his chest, and said, "Hey everyone, I'm Daniel Jones. Nice to meet you all." His flippant tone made me frown, so I looked down to hide it. Daniel has an impressive track record as a top engineer in the UK. I've decided he'll work as my right-hand man, showcasing his no-one industry skills. Jones's announcement caused a stir among the employees. This meant that Daniel would be given significant authority. Bringing him into the company without even an interview, solely based on Jones's decision, was an abuse of authority. But opposing it would surely lead to more punishment. Next time, it might not be a transfer but outright dismissal. I didn't want that to happen, so I could only clap in agreement. After Daniel's induction ceremony, when I talked with the General Affairs Department employees, everyone said, "It's time to leave this place." Clearly, they were fed up with Jones's ways and were looking for other jobs. I began to seriously consider finding a new job too. Daniel, much like Jones, was an extremely arrogant man. He strutted around the office, making the employees nervous to him. Emboldened, he poked his nose into various departments and complained about everything. In the UK, this is standard. That method won't work overseas, he would say, looking down on the employees. As for his engineering prowess, he never touched a computer, always visiting departments or chatting with Jones. Daniel even started bothering my department, General Affairs. Good job. Are you actually working? His flippant tone grated on my nerves, increasing my discomfort. When he spotted me, he approached with a smug grin. You're William, right? You pissed off my dad and got transferred from the development department, didn't you? Suppressing my irritation, I calmly responded. Yes, that's correct. Is there something you need? You're an idiot for standing up to my dad. How do you feel about being transferred? His provocative taunts were starting to get on my nerves. The other employees scowled at Daniel, glaring at him. We're working right now, so please keep personal conversations to a minimum. What? You're going to take that tone with me too? Guys like you get sidelined quickly in the UK. Daniel pointed at me and said, in the UK, the incompetent get fired. Not only was he disrupting work, but his irresponsible talk about firing was infuriating. However, losing my temper here would only put me at a disadvantage. I countered with a big smile. Thanks. Daniel looked bewildered by my unexpected response. Do you even understand what I'm saying? Yes, you want me to quit, right? In that case, it will be considered a termination by the company. Is that acceptable? Not only Daniel, but the other general affairs employees also looked surprised and stopped their work. Just then, Jones came looking for Daniel. What's all the commotion? Dad, this guy William says he's quitting the company. As soon as Jones arrived, Daniel hid behind him. It was comical, like a child scared of me. After hearing the story from Daniel, Jones glared at me. What did you say to my son? I merely asked him to refrain from chatting during work hours. Jones's face turned bright red as he shouted at me. Daniel is like an extension of myself. Know your place. If such a person is not needed at the company, then I'll gladly be fired. In contrast to the emotional Jones, I remained completely calm. This seemed to irritate Jones and his son even more, making them angrier. That's it. I'll personally issue your termination notice. I understand. Thank you for everything up until now. Don't think I'll forgive you if you come crawling back later. With those words, Jones and Daniel left the office. The employees of the General Affairs Department immediately gathered around me, asking, Are you really quitting? Yes, I've already lost the motivation to work here. This might be a good opportunity. Although my time here was short, I was grateful to them. I thanked each one individually and made my rounds to the other departments. Someone in the development department asked, What about the big project? The big project referred to a massive $100 million deal with our client, Wall Corporation. While I was still in the development department, I proposed a mobile phone call app to recover our performance, betting the company's future on the deal. The client was very pleased with the app, and the deal was successfully closed. If it succeeded, our performance would significantly improve. Hoping for the best, I threw myself into the development. However, just as I was coordinating the detailed schedule with the client, Jones issued my transfer order. We had been working with Wall Corporation for over 10 years, and I had built a personal relationship of trust with their representative. Though the project was handed over to another employee, I continued to provide consultation even after moving to the General Affairs Department. Now that I'm fired, the major project is completely out of my hands. But it was Jones who fired me, despite my strong relationship with the client. Let them struggle without me. A month later, I left the company. Regretted not seeing the big project through, but relieved to leave the toxic environment. However, a week after my resignation, something happened. I received a call on my cell phone. It was Jones. President, what's going on? William, come back to the company right now. What? He sounded very desperate and out of breath over the phone. Wondering what had happened, I decided to hear him out. After you quit, a bunch of employees resigned all at once. According to him, my resignation made them decide to leave the company too. Since Jones became president, they were stuck in terrible working conditions with no overtime pay. It's no surprise there was growing discontent. With others also resigning, everyone's motivation hit rock bottom. My departure was the tipping point, causing a flood of pent-up frustration among the employees. The employee who took over the $100 million project also abandoned his job and skipped town, putting the company in one of its worst crises since its founding. The guy we assigned to the project ran off, and now Wall Corporation keeps calling non-stop. I'm barely managing to keep them at bay, but if the project falls through, we're facing more than just a lawsuit. As Jones said, if this major project falls apart, we'd be looking at a loss of over $100 million. We'd lose credibility with our clients, and the company's performance would nosedive. Sales would drop, leading to the worst possible outcome. I heard from the employees that you were in charge of the project when you were in the development department. Please, come back to the company. No, I've already resigned, so it's not my concern anymore. Even after refusing, Jones kept insisting. Please, somehow. Why don't you leave it to your son, Daniel? He's supposed to be an amazing engineer, right? He seems like the perfect fit. However, for some reason, Daniel didn't want to take on the project. Despite being an engineer, he was ignoring what should be a challenging and rewarding task. As I wondered about this, I heard Jones's weak voice. William, I'm begging you, please, just you, come back. No matter what you say, it's useless. I'm not coming back to the company. Goodbye. Why would I return to help someone who infuriates me? Just as I was about to hang up, he mentioned something interesting. Actually, Wall Corporation wants to visit us for a meeting tomorrow. I can't keep stalling any longer. The client is coming to the company. An idea struck me. Who will attend this meeting? Well, I plan to attend myself. Hearing his answer, I smirked. All right, I will accept your request, Mr. President. Really? However, please have your son Daniel attend the meeting as well. Overjoyed at the thought of me returning, Jones enthusiastically agreed. All right. After noting the date and time, I ended the call and set to work on a plan. The next day, dressed in a suit, I returned to the company and appeared before Jones. William, I'm relieved you're back. Here's your ID card. But I didn't take the ID card and headed straight to the conference room. That's unnecessary. Let's prepare for the meeting before our guests arrive. Back at the company, it felt much emptier with so many employees gone. Even the General Affairs Department staff were doing their last tasks before leaving. When I entered the conference room, Daniel was there and immediately confronted me. Was it you who insisted I attend this meeting? Yes, I thought it would be beneficial to have an engineer like you present. Daniel, visibly annoyed, clicked his tongue and sat back down. I began the preparations alone, and right on time, the employees from Wall Corporation arrived. An engineer and a manager from Wall Corporation arrived, and we exchanged greetings. However, it seemed they had received poor treatment from Jones in my absence, making them tense and distrustful. Their displeasure was evident, and their impression of us was clearly low. The meeting was to be conducted by the three of us, Jones, Daniel, and myself. However, Jones and Daniel remained silent and appeared frightened. Left with no choice, I took the lead and started the meeting. I first apologized for the scheduling delays, reviewed the contract details, and listened to their concerns. Then, I turned to Daniel. Regarding our products, could you explain them to us, Mr. Engineer who returned from the UK? Me. He looked shocked at being suddenly called upon. Without waiting for a response, I handed him the materials and made him stand in front of the clients. Jones watched his son with a worried expression. Well? Daniel froze, staring at the documents, unable to speak. Seeing his faltering attempt, the client scowled and angrily asked, Are you kidding us? Finally, Daniel turned to me for help. Oh dear, I created this opportunity for you, and this is the extent of your ability. I muttered in exasperation, pushing him aside to the corner of the room. I then opened my own laptop. This is a call app I developed independently. Please take a look. What, William? What are you doing? You can't just do this on your own. Ignoring Jones's protests, I began my presentation of the app. The truth is, I had been struggling to find a new job after quitting, and when Jones mentioned the meeting, I saw an opportunity. I realized this was my chance to pitch myself to Wall Corporation. Drawing on all my experience, I delivered a confident and comprehensive presentation. I don't know if it's worth $100 million, but it encapsulated all the skills I've honed over the years. If this app were to be implemented, it could gain market share not only domestically, but also globally. Although this wasn't the original content of the meeting, the clients were captivated by my confident presentation. By the end, they applauded enthusiastically. I handed them my contact information. Thank you for listening. If you liked what you saw, please contact me personally. Having already built a strong relationship with the clients, I shook hands firmly with them, ensuring a detailed follow-up discussion. Having achieved my goal, I decided it was time to leave. Well, I'll be on my way, Mr. President. Daniel, I wish you luck with the rest of the meeting. What? I thought you were coming back to the company. Jones, looking pale, tried to stop me, but I just smiled and shook my head. I never intended to come back, see. I didn't even take the ID card. You? How dare you show off and then leave us like this? Daniel snarled at me. I gave you a chance to shine, Daniel, but you couldn't even explain properly. Are you really the #1 engineer in the industry? Daniel froze, sweating profusely under the questioning stares. Time ticked by, and all I could hear were his faint, shaky breaths. Well then, I'll take my leave. I wish both of you and the company the best of luck. Wait, don't leave us here. But I quickly exited the conference room. Now, Jones and Daniel would have to face the client's stern gazes and continue the meeting on their own. I doubted they could handle the explanations and maintain the deal. Before leaving the company, I had one more task to complete. With Jones and Daniel in the meeting room, the president's office was empty. I quietly went to the president's office and copied the attendance management system data from Jones's computer onto a USB drive. This was to gather evidence to report him to the Labor Standards Office. Sometimes bold actions are necessary to obtain conclusive evidence. After obtaining past time card records, I quickly left the president's office. I then sent this evidence along with a report to the Labor Standards Office. It was only a matter of time before Jones's violations of labor laws were exposed. That night, I received a call from Wall Corporation, inviting me to join their team. Naturally, I accepted without hesitation and secured the job offer. Wall Corporation values employee development and offers excellent benefits and a comprehensive welfare program. The salary was twice what I earned at my previous job, with 2 annual bonuses guaranteed, a stark contrast to Jones's company. The employees were highly skilled, and they held study sessions, exchanging information and energizing the workplace. I felt greatly inspired and found joy in my work for the first time in years. I couldn't understand why I hadn't joined this company sooner. But I was genuinely glad I had seized the opportunity to present myself when I did. I wondered what had happened to Jones and Daniel afterward, so I asked an employee who had attended the meeting. What happened to the project after I left the conference room? The employee gave a wry smile and said, "It was cancelled." Jones and Daniel failed to explain the delays, damaging the trust, and the $100 million project was lost. Jones's arrogant attitude didn't help, and Wall Corporation filed a claim for damages. Additionally, the Labor Standards Office's investigation, triggered by my report, was the final straw, severing their ties. My report exposed unpaid overtime and excessive work hours. As a result, Jones received a corrective order from the Labor Standards Office, demanding proper overtime pay for the employees. Through their lawyer, the employees threatened to sue for unpaid wages. Fearing a lawsuit, Jones hurriedly paid all the overdue allowances. I also joined in, claiming damages for wrongful termination and transfer. Though it wasn't a large sum, I made sure to get what was owed. Jones's misdeeds were exposed. But resignations continued, leading to a severe staff shortage, disrupting both projects and daily operations. This led to delays in deliveries and compensation payments to clients. The company faced over $10 billion in losses, leaving them in dire straits. Even the employees who had supported Jones sensed their own danger and quickly betrayed him. 6 months later, the company went bankrupt due to financial difficulties. By now, Jones and Daniel must be out on the streets. But I had already cut ties with them. Now, I could focus on enjoying a fulfilling life. However, an unexpected reunion with Daniel occurred. I was asked to sit in on interviews for mid-career hires with the HR department. To my surprise, one of the applicants was Daniel. "Daniel, why are you here?" He was just as shocked to see me. "William, please help me get this job." He shamelessly tried to use our past connection to get hired. Seeing his audacity, I felt an urge to throw him out immediately. I can't make that decision on my own. As I looked at his resume that the HR department held, one section caught my eye. "Wait, Daniel, weren't you working at an IT company in the UK? Why isn't that on here?" Experience abroad would be a significant advantage. But Daniel's resume had no mention of such experience, and his work history was completely blank. "Well, that's because. Also, there's no information about what you've been doing since graduating college. Have you been unemployed?" He tensed up, which confirmed my suspicion. Most likely, he had been living off the money Jones provided for his trip, pretending to work while actually doing nothing. Lying to his own father about being an engineer showed just how heartless he was. Seeing the HR manager's confusion, I explained my relationship with Daniel. "Actually, Daniel is the son of my previous employer. He wasn't well regarded in the company." The HR manager scowled at Daniel. "Given the failed project and other issues, I don't think he fits our company." As I recommended not hiring him, Daniel panicked and approached me. "Please, don't reject me. My family is on the brink of bankruptcy because the company went under." "That's unfortunate. How is Jones handling it?" Daniel said Jones was desperately seeking loans from various banks. However, the bankruptcy caused them to lose credibility, and they were running out of assets. "That's why I need to find a job quickly and start earning money." Trying to sound dutiful, Daniel spoke with determination. "If you had been honest about your experience and worked diligently, things might have been different. I haven't forgotten how you and your father mocked me." When I glared at him with a resolute attitude, Daniel trembled and begged for forgiveness. "I'm sorry for making fun of you. I promise to work hard. Please forgive me. Our company is looking for trustworthy individuals. Unfortunately, Daniel, you don't meet that criterion." He was rejected on the spot and left dejected. In the end, Daniel and his father both ended up unemployed. Jones tried to start a new business to repay his debts, but his partner deceived him and ran off with all the loan money. With even more debt, he was left with no options, and his house was foreclosed. His wife handed him divorce papers along with harsh words, leaving him isolated. Lacking education and strength, he turned to gambling, but only ended up fearing debt collectors while working part-time jobs. When Daniel realized his father was broke, he quickly severed ties and moved in with his mother at a relative's house. Though he found work helping out at the relative's business, it was a tough environment for someone as incompetent as him. He faced cold stares from his seniors whenever he made mistakes. I wonder what Jones and Daniel think about their situation now. Even if they regret not studying more, it's too late. Meanwhile, since joining Wall Corporation, I have been making significant progress. As an engineer at this company, I've earned the trust of my colleagues and doubled my previous salary. I truly feel that taking this job, where the rewards match the effort, was the right choice. This is all thanks to my past self who worked hard to learn. I'll continue to study diligently so I can remain active and valuable, even as a senior. Your reward for developing the patent is just $5. I work in the research of optical technology at a video equipment company. I was striving to develop patents with the development team, but I was harassed by my boss, Richard. Despite that, I managed to obtain a top-level industry patent. However, the reward for developing the patent given by Richard was just $5. I've had enough of being belittled by a guy who has been reaping the rewards of our hard work. Thank you very much. I took the $5 and immediately submitted my resignation letter. After using up my paid leave, I quit instantly and started my own company. Maybe because I cut off bad ties, I was quickly met with good fortune, and then I received a call. My name is John Anderson, 51 years old. I work as an engineer at a video equipment company based in the suburbs.